Hey everybody, Wildman Wes here, and welcome to another edition of Worst State of Movies. We are still on our small Midwest tour, so let's go to the next state. Indiana, home of the Indy 500 and so much more. I lived in Indianapolis for about a year and a half, and I wish I could remember a lot more than just that, but there are some things out there that you should check out. As a matter of fact, here's a little plug for you. If you're around the Indianapolis area, go to Taxman Brewing and go see my buddy Hefe from Beer You, Beer Me. He'll be sure to take care of you pretty well. Now it's time to talk about the movie for today. We've talked about adaptations of books, and some authors can have books that are turned into movies that are iconic, memorable, and then you have some that aren't that great. Some authors have movies that it's a little bit of column A and column B. And one in particular author that we've talked about time after time after time after time after time again is the horror legend Stephen King. Today's movie from Indiana is Sleepwalkers. Okay, this movie, how do I put this? I'm just going to rattle off the movie very quickly for you. There is a mother and son of Mary and Charles Brady who go missing in California. The police don't know what's going on, and eventually it fast forwards to Travis, Indiana, where they are living, and they're living in isolation, living in fear, and the mother is freaking out about not getting out of the house and needing to be fed. Well, it turns out that Charles and his mother are known as sleepwalkers, who are half human, half feline hybrids that they feed on the souls of people to stay alive. And a lot of times they are causing too much chaos and have to move from place to place to place. They're wanting to finally settle down and just exist. The problem is, most of the time where they're going, cats follow. You see, these sleepwalkers can be destroyed by cats, scratching them, biting them. Yeah, they just get very, very scared of these cats. And that's pretty much what most of this movie is. They're hiding in their house, trying to stay away from the cats. And Charles, the son, he's going to look for a virtuous girl to sacrifice to his mother to be able to feed on her soul so she can live a little bit longer until they move to the next town. Well, eventually some people they catch on to this, and the authorities catch on, and they eventually corner them into their house and get a bunch of cats, and eventually Charles and his mother, they are destroyed by the cats, and everybody sits around asking, where do we go from here? I know when I admit that I have to phone reviews in when it comes to these movies, but when it comes to books, I feel that this book by Stephen King was phoned in. The plot definitely feels too simple and too easy. And there is this sense of horror comedy in the story, and especially on film. Now, there are a lot of one-liners, a lot of double entendres, a lot of almost dad puns at this point. And when I see them happening from time to time in a movie, use them when they are necessary. It just felt like it was just pun after pun after pun after pun after pun. And I have to say about that, folks, leave the pun after pun after pun to Freddy Krueger. He's the only one that can do that in horror. The only other one that I can think of that does a lot of those great puns is Deadpool, Indiana Jones, and James Bond. Enough said. Whew, I need to get off my soapbox a little bit. That was a little intense there. We're going to talk about something else that's intense about this storyline. Charles and his mother have a little bit of a Norman and Norma Bates thing going on. They do things that I really can't talk about necessarily on this episode, but you get the idea. Yeah, it's the I word. We're not going to talk about the I word. Nobody wants to talk about the I word. No. That definitely made this movie very awkward to watch, because you sit there and it's one of those taboos that you never want to think about, and then when you see it happening, it makes your skin crawl, though. That whole Freudian thing. No. Wes, get off the topic. Focus on everything else in the film. The cast did what they could with the performances. There were some actors and actresses I wasn't really familiar with. However, I will say I did see that the parents of the virtuous girl were Cindy Pickett and Lyman Ward. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Bueller were the parents in this movie, and they played it to a T just like they played it in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I did appreciate that. Another person was Ron Perlman, Hellboy himself, and he's done so much more than just that, and his part was very small, but at the same time, it was somewhat effective. Another one was an earlier part in the movie, a teacher played by Glenn Shaddix, Otho from Beetlejuice, the preacher in Heathers, in so many films. And I appreciated their performances because they are so used to doing a lot of dry humor and deadpan humor. When it came to the other people in this movie, there was a lot of performances that they tried to be dry, but it just felt inorganic. It didn't feel right. And that's where my attention span was completely disassociating from being invested in this film. Now, a lot of people in the know when it comes to the horror genre, whenever a movie is adapted from a book of Stephen King, he will always have a cameo in these films. He had a cameo in this film, and also there were a lot of other people from the horror industry that had cameos as well, such as John Landis, Joe Dante, Tobe Hooper, and then Clive Barker. They all had a part in this. However, just because famous directors from the horror genre have cameos in a film doesn't necessarily make it a good film. Alright, now it's time to grade this film. Apart from all the bad puns and the Freudian analysis of the film and the dry acting and the story being very, oh my gosh, cats are the thing that can destroy this evil? Oof. Stephen King, I love you, buddy, but this story, oh, you've made so many great ones, and this one definitely didn't need to be adapted into a film. So, Sleepwalkers, you have become the worst movie in Indiana. Well, we hope you enjoyed my little soapbox moment talking about Sleepwalkers. If you've seen this movie and you agree with me, leave a thumbs up. And if you've seen this movie and you don't agree with me, you can let me know how you feel in the comments section below. I get it. Sometimes not every movie is for everyone. And in this situation, it wasn't for me. And I'm probably not the only one. There's a lot of things in this movie that make you very uncomfortable. And not because of the horror genre, it's just the subject matter. Just saying. Other than that, make sure you share on social media, but most importantly, push that little red button and ring that bell for instant notifications. Until then, I'm Wildman Wes, and we will see you next time for Worst State of Movies. Take care.